Beneath the everyday noise of calendars, clocks, job titles, and small talk, there is a subtler drumbeat, so quiet that most of us never notice it, yet so steady that it shapes every heartbeat of our lives. It is the pulse of a single digit, the final figure of the year we first opened our eyes, a numeral we have glanced at 1,000 times on driver's licenses, passports, and official forms without ever suspecting it was alive. In the high, thin air of Himalayan monasteries, monks still murmur about this digit the way astronomers speak of distant quasars, evidence of invisible laws, carriers of ancient light. They say that when a child is born, the universe exhales one last number into the cradle, a seed note, a tuning fork, a private password between the soul and the cosmos. From that moment on, the digit begins its patient work, bending the arc of relationships, tinting the quality of sorrow, coloring the taste of joy. Most of us, busy learning to walk, speak, earn and survive, never hear the note. We think our struggles are accidents, our gifts are random, our wounds are failures of will, but the monks insist nothing is random. The last digit of your birth year is a lantern your soul set afloat on the dark river of time. Follow its glow and you come home to yourself. Imagine the universe as a vast monastery bell, whose bronze sides are hammered with 10 glyphs, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Each time a human heart begins to beat, the bell swings, one glyph rings, and that vibration travels the marrow of decades. The monks call the ringing the unheard name. No two names are identical. Even twins born minutes apart stand beneath different clangs. My task here is not to sell you a parlor trick or a weekend workshop, but to translate a whisper that has been circulating for millennia, a whisper that steps out of saffron robes and into your kitchen at 3 a.m. when you cannot sleep, a whisper that knows why you fall in love with unavailable people, why certain griefs return like migrating birds, why some mornings you wake certain you were born for something luminous, and other mornings equally certain you were born for nothing at all. We will walk the spiral of each digit slowly, the way pilgrims circle the stupa, pausing at every niche to bow to what lives there. Take the digit that ends your birth year and hold it in the mind's open palm. Let it warm like a living coin. Whatever you learn, do not use it as a cage. Use it as a key. 0. Most of us were taught to fear the zero, an emptiness, a failure, a cancelled future. But in the Buddhist imagination, 0 is not absence. It is the pregnant pause between heartbeats, the inhalation that contains every possible word you will ever speak. If your birth year ends in 0, you are the one who carries the universe's original blank page. Childhood may have felt like a series of erasures, families relocated, friendships dissolved, dreams revised by midnight fires you did not set. You learned early the art of packing boxes in the dark, of saying goodbye to rooms that still smelled of your own breath. While classmates collected ribbons and trophies, you collected disappearances. The world mistook this for instability. You mistook it for personal defect. But the monks say you are the cosmic reset button, the one who must dissolve so that something truer can precipitate. Every ending you have endured has been an unfastening, not a punishment. You were never behind, you were always returning to the source, the way rivers keep returning to the sea. In relationships, you may notice a pattern just when the story seems settled. The floorboards lift like a magician's trapdoor, and you are falling through air again. Lovers have accused you of restlessness, but restlessness is only the surface turbulence. Underneath is the deeper current that refuses to let you live a lie. You leave jobs the way snakes leave skins, not out of boredom, but because you hear the soft internal crack that announces the skin no longer fits. The grief of these departures is real, but it is the grief of the seed breaking, not the grief of the broken. 0 people are the composters of the zodiac. You turn what has finished into what can begin. When you accept this, you stop apologizing for the empty spaces. You start planting winter gardens in them. You start inviting friends to sit quietly in the zero with you, to taste the sweetness that exists before the first word. One practice the monks recommend for zero souls is the monthly house funeral. On the night of the new moon, light a single candle and walk through every room of your home. Speak aloud the names of objects you are ready to release, the kettle that no longer whistles, the ambition that scalded your sleep, the grudge that calcified around your heart. Thank each one for its service, then extinguish the flame. The next morning you will find the house feels wider, as if the walls have inhaled. This is zero's secret. Emptiness is not a problem to solve, it is a womb to inhabit. 1. If zero is the circle, 1 is the line that breaks it. The first stroke on the cave wall, the original I am, birth years ending in 1 carry, the vibration of the pioneer, the soul who arrived with a machete for hacking paths where no paths exist. You were the child who colored outside the lines, not to rebel but because the picture in your head refused to fit inside the provided rectangle. Teachers called you stubborn. They did not know they were witnessing the first draft of destiny. 1 people are the flint that sparks the communal fire. They need friction the way others need approval. When the world says, "Here is the map," you hear, "Here is the invitation to draw a better one." But the burden of forging every trail is exhaustion so deep it does not have a name. You have probably stood at many midnight windows wondering why no one offers to carry half the sky you were born to lift. The monks say the cure is not to become less of a one, it is to soften the edges of solitude. When you find yourself inventing yet another impossible project, pause and ask, who else might be ready to walk beside me if I simply turned and invited? Leadership does not always mean walking in front. Sometimes it means walking in the middle, listening to footfalls that are not your own. 1 souls often attract followers who are secretly volunteers waiting to become companions. The hardest lesson is to turn the monologue into dialogue without losing the melody. A daily practice each morning before the emails and the obligations. Write 1 sentence that begins, "Today I choose." Do not choose outcomes, choose orientations. Today I choose curiosity over certainty. Today I choose collaboration over conquest. Let the sentence be small enough to fit on a post-it, then carry it in a pocket all day. By evening it will have frayed, softened, become a part of your skin. This is how ones learn to lead without loneliness, by practicing choice in miniature, the way musicians practice scales before attempting the symphony. 2. 2s are born diplomats carrying invisible stethoscopes. They listen to the heartbeat beneath every quarrel. If your birth year ends in 2, you may remember childhood as a long exercise in emotional triangulation, translating mother's silences for father, father's jokes for mother, smoothing the ripples before they became waves. While other children collected toys, you collected the relief on adult faces when harmony was restored. This early apprenticeship in the grammar of reconciliation shaped your nervous system. You feel other people's anger the way weather fronts feel barometric drops. The monks say 2s are the soul's memory of original wholeness. Adam before the rib, Eve before the garden gate. But the cost of being everyone's emotional Switzerland is a chronic ache of self-delusion. You have probably sat at tables where all voices were loud except your own, which had grown so accustomed to accommodation it forgot its native tongue. The cure is not to abandon harmony, but to include yourself in it. Begin with small rebellions. Order the dish no one else likes. Wear the color that clashes beautifully. Speak 1 true sentence per conversation, even if it trembles. 2s are often shocked to discover that when they stop smoothing, the conversation does not collapse, it deepens. Others have been waiting for the real you to arrive, and the real you carries a voice that is both tender and unmistakably original. A nightly practice before sleep. Place 1 hand on your heart and 1 on your belly. Breathe into the space between them until the hands feel equally warm. Then ask, what did I swallow today that was mine to speak? Let the answer rise as sensation rather than words. In the morning, translate the sensation into one gesture, perhaps a boundary drawn, perhaps a request made. Over weeks, these gestures accumulate into a quiet but seismic shift. The diplomat becomes an artist whose medium is authentic relationship. 3. Where twos listen, threes speak. They are the storytellers, the jesters, the troubadours who remind the tribe that grief can wear tap shoes. If your birth year ends in 3, you likely learned early that a well-timed joke could diffuse father's rage or mother's tears. Humor became your first language, creativity, your passport through every locked door. But the monks warn that the brightest lamps cast the darkest shadows. Behind every 3's effervescence is a child who once felt too much and discovered that performance was safer than presence. The unhealed 3 is a one-person carnival who hands out balloons while secretly longing to pop everyone just to hear the bang. The practice is not to dim the lights, but to aim them inward. Once a week, set a timer for 20 minutes and speak aloud to an empty chair. Tell it the joke you cannot tell anyone else, the one that tastes like rust and tears. When the timer rings, do not analyze. Simply notice the temperature of the room. Over months, the chair becomes a confessor, and the jokes become prayers. Eventually, you will discover that the same voice that once distracted pain can now articulate it, and the articulation is the beginning of healing. Creativity is not an escape hatch. It is a descent elevator into the basement of the soul. 3s who learn this become the elders who can make children laugh and adults cry in the same breath, who understand that every story contains a joke and a funeral, and that both deserve standing ovations. 4. 4s are the cathedral builders, the ones who hear music in the clink of trowels and the scrape of stone. Birth years ending in 4 arrive with an internal blueprint for structures that will outlast their own heartbeat. You were the child who arranged blocks into perfect squares, who cried when the sandcastle's moat collapsed, because you had measured it with the solemnity of an architect. The world calls this practicality. The monks call it reverence for form. 4s sense the invisible scaffolding inside every chaos. They are the ones who know that a garden begins not with seeds but with the patience to turn compost. But the cathedral must not become a tomb. Many 4s wake at midlife to discover they have built fortresses so high, no light enters, schedules so rigid, no laughter leaks through. The cure is to plant a single vine of spontaneity against the stone. Every Thursday, break one rule with deliberate grace. Take the long way home, eat dessert before dinner, write a love letter instead of a report. At first, the act feels frivolous. Soon it becomes sacrament. 4s learn that discipline without delight calcifies. Discipline married to delight becomes devotion. The greatest cathedrals contain rose windows precisely because beauty is also a load-bearing wall. 5. 5s are the wind-given ankles, the souls who signed up for the elective called Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. If your birth year ends in 5, you probably collected passports the way other children collected stamps, each border crossing a fresh lungful of possibility. The monks say 5s are the universe's way of reminding the rest of us that infinity is portable, but freedom untethered becomes vertigo. You have likely woken in unfamiliar hotel rooms with no memory of the city's name, your own pulse asking, whose life is this and why am I wearing it? The practice is to tether yourself to essence rather than geography. Choose one small object that fits in a pocket, a smooth pebble, a key with no lock, a folded poem. Every time you cross a threshold, airport, bedroom, memory, touch the object, and silently name the quality you want to carry with you. Curiosity, kindness, courage. Over years, the object becomes a compass. The naming becomes a meditation. 5s who learn this can travel the world without leaving themselves behind. They become the storytellers whose tales are not escapes but maps, who understand that the farthest journey is the one that circles back to the self. 6. Sixes are the hearth tenders, the ones who feel the draft when a family's warmth leaks out the cracks. Birth years ending in 6 arrive with arms already full of invisible firewood. You were the child who offered half your sandwich to the classmate who forgot lunch, who sensed mother's headache before she did. The monks say 6s are the soul's memory of the village we lost when we decided to live in separate houses. Your gift is to turn any space into home simply by entering it. Your wound is to forget that you too are a resident of that home, not merely its caretaker. The cure is to practice receiving with the same artistry you practice giving. Once a day, ask for something small but real, a compliment, a favor, a song recommendation, and when it arrives, receive it as deliberately as you once handed out sandwiches. Notice the discomfort that rises. Notice the voice that says you are being selfish. Then thank the voice and take the compliment anyway. 6s who learn this discover that receiving is not a luxury, but a form of generosity. When you allow others to give to you, you offer them the chance to become 6s too. The hearth that only gives eventually cools. The hearth that both gives and receives becomes the sun. 7. 7s are the cave dwellers, the ones who hear music in silence and see galaxies in candle flames. Birth years ending in 7 arrive with 1 foot in this world and 1 in a place language has not yet named. You were the child who stared too long at raindrops sliding down the window, who asked questions that made adults exchange glances. The monks say 7s are the librarians of forgotten wisdom. They remember what the rest of us agreed to forget in order to fit inside time. But the cave must not become a hiding place. Every insight that remains private corrodes into loneliness. The practice is translation. Once a week, take 1 shard of your inner seeing and turn it into a form another human can hold. Paint it, bake it, hum it, plant it, write it on a postcard, and mail it to a stranger. At first the translation feels like betrayal. Soon it feels like communion. 7s who learn this become bridges between the seen and the unseen, the ones who can sit in boardrooms and speak the language of starlight, who remind the tribe that the universe is not out there but in here, thrumming behind the sternum. 8. 8s are the thunderclouds, the ones who carry enough electricity to light cities but risk being consumed by their own storm. Birth years ending in 8 arrive with an internal ledger of achievements that must be balanced before the soul can rest. You were the child who turned every game into a contest, who felt the weight of invisible applause whenever you stacked blocks higher than yesterday. The monks say 8s are the architects of legacy, but legacy is a house that can become a prison if the architect forgets to install windows. The practice is periodic demolition. Once a year, choose 1 area of achievement, career, fitness, reputation, and deliberately lower the bar by 20%. Announce it to no one. Simply notice the panic that rises, the internal voice that insists you are becoming small. Then watch what rushes into the vacated space. A conversation long postponed, a sunset previously unnoticed, a friendship that does not require your resume. 8s who learn this discover that power is not a mountain to climb but a river to channel. The river widens precisely where it is willing to slow. 9. 9s are the autumn leaves, the ones who understand that falling is not failing but returning. Birth years ending in 9 arrive with pockets full of other people's unfinished stories. You were the child who comforted the teacher who had just scolded you, who felt the grief of ancestors whose names you did not know. The monks say 9s are the soul's harvest moon, the ones who ripen wisdom by metabolizing collective sorrow. But harvest must include the self. Many 9s become compost heaps for every pain except their own. The practice is elegy. Once a month, write a short letter to something you are ready to release. A resentment, a role, an identity. Burn the letter and scatter the ashes in moving water. Speak aloud. I return what is not mine to carry. The first time you do this, The words may stick in your throat like dry bread. By the third time they flow like wine. Nines who learn this become the elders who can sit at deathbeds and birthbeds with equal serenity, who understand that every goodbye is a seed planted in the soil of becoming. Integration. No digit lives in isolation. Look at the people you love, and you will find their digits braided through yours like roots beneath a forest floor. The 0 mother births the 1 son who becomes the 8 entrepreneur, who hires the 4 manager, who marries the 2 diplomat, who befriends the 5 wanderer, who is counseled by the 7 mystic, who is mothered by the 6 caregiver, who is inspired by the 3 artist, who is grounded by the 9 elder, who was once the 0 child. The forest does not judge the shape of any root. It simply allows each to seek the nourishment it needs. Hold your digit gently, the way you would hold a fledgling fallen from the nest. Do not demand that it fly before its wings are ready. Do not blame it for the storms it did not create. Ask only, what song were you trying to sing through me all these years, and how can I learn the next note? The monks say that when enough individuals remember their digits, the collective bell will ring in a harmony we have not yet imagined. Until then, the monastery remains portable. It fits inside your pocket, your heartbeat, the pause between inhale and exhale. Every time you choose compassion over explanation, stillness over escape, creation over complaint, the bell sounds once, soft as snow on water, and somewhere a stranger who shares your digit feels a shiver of recognition. This is not the end of the teaching. It is the beginning of the listening. Carry the digit with you into grocery stores, traffic jams, love affairs, hospitals, and sunsets. Let it be the quiet friend who walks beside you, neither master nor servant, simply witness. And when you meet another whose eyes flicker with the same quiet knowing, nod, not as believer to believer, but as bell to bell, 2 tones acknowledging the single bronze from which both were cast.